Habois. Habois. Oh, excuse me. Hi. I was eating while the starting scene screen was on. I should put the captions. Hello, everybody. It is Monday. It is Monday. And we are gonna go on a little adventure today. I hope we're all looking forward to it. I was eating some some fried chicken. Oh well, now it's broiled because I broiled it, but I still have some more. I'm really hungry. I barely ate yesterday. We're so enroped in yesterday's session that just did not eat at all. Did not eat. But we have our chimkium. Let me quickly grab a drink. I have here a water. We are gonna go hopefully on a nice little adventure today. Oh, excuse me. And it's gonna be a very chill one, because this is a text adventure. So I hope that we all... Wow. I ate the chicken really fast. I was very hungry. But, hi, Reaper of Summoners. How are we doing today? Welcome. But let's not dilly-dally too much into it. It's a very old text adventure game. And I hope that, you guys... I hope you guys enjoy the little... I think it's gonna be a treat. Let's go. Alrighty. Let us go into it. Just dive right in. One sec. Just a little loud. It all began with a notebook my mother handed me. She told me she found it while cleaning out the closet. This old notebook, covered with mold, was a diary that belonged to my grandfather, who passed away years ago. It contained his distant memories. I wonder if you still remember how we first met, our many adventures. It seemed like a dream. We ran like the wind during those warm summer days long ago. You were a piece of a star that fell from the sky. Hi, Void Searcher, welcome. I can still relive the memories of those days long past. Just by closing my eyes like so and whispering your name into the desolate night. Kid. 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 Hey, kid. Are you ready, kid? I know you're anxious, but stay on your toes. Yeah, likewise, mate. You mess up and I'm leaving you behind. Got that, Sage? Come on, Maggio, let's go. That bastard Lynx is gonna get what he deserves. Say your prayers. Not that it'll do you any good. Evil laughter. Alrighty. Radical Dreamers. Le Trésor, Interdit. I do not speak French. Pretty much means just the unstealable jewel. Is it going to... It's going to give you, yeah, little opening cinematic again. Now... Okay, so... Left trigger or down on the left stick is the escape menu. Confirm, cancel. Y is menu. X is auto text. Change selection. All right. Now, a long time ago, I played this game on a cracked PSP. It was on a Super Nintendo emulator. This game originally never left Japan. It was fan translated, and it was for the Famicom. It was a side story that came out a bit after Chrono Trigger and helped build the basis for Chrono Cross. Keyboard controls. Alrighty. We'll keep our name as Surge. Excuse me if I cough a lot. The old lady's tip-off was right on the money. The counterspell on the barrier around the outer walls could have done a real number on us. Kid's plain, unadorned braid flicked back and forth across her shoulders as she walked. We picked our way through the elaborate lattice of the manor's magic shields, moving in closer and closer to Lord Lynx's stronghold. There were 3 of us. Kid, Magiel, and me. I guess it must have been 3 years already since I first met Kid. Back then, I was just a wandering musician, traveling wherever my feet would take me and wherever a few tunes would pay for a warm bed. It was in the Outlands in a town called Regiora, where we first ran across one another, and since then, she dragged me on a whole bunch of adventures. And misadventures, too. Ah, Kid. She was a thief, and not just any thief, just a few months shy of 17 and already renowned as one of the realm's greatest. What's more, she was achingly beautiful, stylish, a joy to be around, and a dab hand at campsite cooking, or so she liked to claim. The truth was a little different. Those bandits with hearts of gold you've heard about in stories, the ones who steal from the rich and give to the poor. Yeah, Kid, that wasn't Kid's style. She was short-tempered, prone to lying, bossy, and obsessed with money, and rarely did she care to listen to a single word anyone said to her. But she wasn't all bad. Probably. Maybe. Sometimes. She had her moments, anyway. I glanced over my shoulder to see a shadow hovering behind us, blending into the darkness like smoke. Magiel, also known as Magiel the Shade. He was Kid's partner, but even after 3 years, I still knew hardly anything about him. All I knew was that he was around 30 years old and not much of a talker, but he was one heck of a mage. I heard that he and Kid had started working together way before I met her. He always covered the top half of his face with a mask, and I'd never seen what he looked like underneath. He was a man so mysterious that it sometimes seemed like he was an interloper from another world. It wasn't like Kid was exactly big on details about her past, but Magiel? He might as well not have had one. And Kid doesn't seem to know much about her partner in crime either. What kind of man he was, what kind of life he lived before. Nothing. You might ask how exactly I wound up being a part of this merry band. Well, it's complicated. I guess you could say that life doesn't always turn out the way you think it will. Kid, who was heading up our little raiding party, suddenly stopped dead. Look lively, boys. We've got company. Sup, I have a cat. Hi, Tito, how you doing? Welcome. I'm gonna just move a couple things on my screen here so that I can see everything a little bit better. There we go. We glanced around warily as cold, cruel eyes emerged from the darkness. I heard a low growl. Dark shadows prowled through the night, surrounding us. A pack of wildcats! There must have been about 10 of them. A thrill of fear ran down my spine. Flustered, I pulled my knife from my belt. Kid calmly shifted into a fighting stance. Watch yourselves. I don't reckon these buggers... Oh, why did I go Western? Watch yourselves. I don't reckon these buggers have been treated for rabies. The wildcats snarled and growled as they slowly closed in on us, drawing the noose tighter and tighter. Their eyes glinted in the darkness like fireflies, and strings of eager spittle dripped wetly to the ground. Hi, Linda. How you doing? Then, one of them sent an almighty roar soaring to the moon, and the hunt was on. I didn't think fast. Kim dived to the thick of the pack of wildcats and gave the largest of their number an almighty kick in the chops. Oh yeah, this is timed. The startled beast gave a yelp as it was sent flying. I turned to my right to see that a nearby wildcat was charging towards me, its head lowered menacingly. It's the old version of the song. Panicked, I tried to make a last-second dodge, but I wasn't quite fast enough. Its claws scraped against my side as it rushed past me. Ugh! I winced in pain for a moment, then turned to face my foe and readied myself. I struck at it widely. I tried to use magic. I defended myself. I ran away. I defended myself. What the hell are you doing, Saj? Oh, incoming! Kid nimbly twisted her body to dodge an incoming wildcat's attack and slammed her fist into the side of the beast's head. It gave a wounded cry, and while the blow wasn't fatal, it collapsed to the ground and twitched in pain. Saj, behind you! Panicked by Kid's warning, I whirled wildly around and came face to face with a pair of eyes blazing like hellfire. I attacked. A wildcat was coming right at me. By reflex, I ducked, its attack swiping through the air directly over my head. I felt its hot breath on my cheek as it flew by me. At the same time, I thrust my knife upward, plunging it into the beast's belly. With a horrible cry of agony, the wildcat crashed face first into the ground. But I lost my balance in the chaos, and I fell down in a heap as well. I rolled over and was only just able to stagger back to my feet before readying myself for my next opponent. I'm good. Be getting arts ready for Zelda, so I'll be lurking and listening. Of course! I was breathing heavily. The handle of my knife was slick with sweat, and I tightened my grip. With a kick like a bolt of lightning, Kid landed a clean hit on the flank of a nearby wildcat. It staggered before losing its footing, letting out a pathetic cry. The kid had already moved in to finish it off. And then, the roar of fire. The burning smell filled my nostrils, and next to me, a shrill screech pierced the air. Magil's fire spell engulfed the head of a nearby wildcat. It fled, darting off into the darkness like an arrow. I scanned the area. Only moments ago we had been surrounded, but now there wasn't a single wildcat left. Kid and Magil had either sent the rest off with their tails between their legs, or put pay to them once and for all. Ha! You're dreaming if you think a pack of flea-bitten Moogies are gonna stop us, Lynx. Kid crossed her arms and flashed a triumphant grin. Meanwhile, I was panting heavily, and it felt like my legs were about to give out from under me. I collapsed to my knees, overwhelmed by what I'd just been through. Phew. I'd taken a few hits, but I was fine otherwise. A couple of scars to talk about later, maybe, but nothing that would stop me carrying on. Are you hurt? Magil looked down at me, his face expressionless as ever. No worries, Marge. He'll be all right. He'll be right, said Kid, barging in to get a better look at me. He may be a wingling sook, but it'll take I can't read today, but it'll take more than a few scratches to kill this one. She was nothing if not sympathetic, but she was right. This was no time to be bemoaning my lot. We hadn't even reached the manor yet. I dabbed at my wounds with a tincture-soaked cloth and wrapped them with bandages, then looked up at the other two. We're just getting started. Sorry I'm out. You'll have to carry on without me. We're just getting started. I grinned back, putting a brave face on things. That's what I like to hear, Kid cheerily announced from close quarters. But then, her eyes turned cold, like the cool glow of the moon in the night sky. It's gonna be a long night. I nodded, trying my hardest not to utterly lose myself in her pale blue eyes. All right, let's get this show back on the road. She turned away and marched off deeper into the trees without looking behind to see if me and Magil were following her. Magil, of course, was already right behind her, his unhurried gait making it seem as though nothing much had happened at all. I jumped back to my feet to chase after them. I'd be in for even more trouble if I'd bargained for if I got separated from them. I didn't read that sentence right at all. The dark forest inside the manor's perimeter seemed to go on forever, a labyrinth of trees and boulders. The manor itself loomed in the distance, glowing over the vast mountains, and hidden within was a veritable mountain of treasure, just waiting for us. Lord Lynx was the noble who ruled the remote territory of Regiora. He was also Kid's mortal enemy. We were there that night to steal a certain jewel he kept locked away in his most close-guarded vault, the Frozen Flame. The Frozen Flame was veiled in mystery. It was said to be imbued with an uncanny energy and possessed of a beauty and clarity that made it a priceless treasure. Countless thieves had tried to steal it, and not one of them had come close to succeeding. I hope I'm not reading this like a grade school teacher. Something about like story times like this that make me like really want to like make me really feel like I'm in front of a classroom being like, okay kids, it's story time. I just want to I'm sorry. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'll read it again. Countless thieves had tried to steal it, and not one of them had come close to succeeding. nor had any of them escaped the manor alive. And now it was our turn to try and sneak into this place of death. Let me just move this window a little bit so it's a bit easier for me. Led by a girl who had the ambition to make the impossible possible, a hunger for vengeance that drove her onward, and a desire for riches that could never be satisfied. As we pressed on through the tree-filled darkness, the shadows gave way at last, revealing the true extent of the vast mansion. Heh! Finally! Say your prayers, Lynx, 'cause we're coming for ya! Keeping to the overgrowth and the shadows of the trees, we made our way around the manor. Walls and... commas are for pauses, and when there isn't a comma, you keep reading. 1 second. Let me just... There we go. Keeping to the overgrowth and the shadows of the trees, we made our way around the manor walls in search of a means of entry. Eventually, we came to a terrace overlooking the garden. There was no sign of any guards nearby. The only thing surrounding the manor was an uncanny stillness. This will lead us straight into the West Wing. Just as well, we don't have any business in the rest of the manor tonight, said Magiel, gazing up at the dark building towering over us in the night. All right then, what are we waiting for? With that, Kid made to vault over the railing of the terrace. Stop, Magiel hissed sharply. Remember what we're here for. Our main target is the vault and the frozen flame within it. We focus on this above all else. Your vengeance is of secondary concern. Agreed. Glancing over her shoulder, Kid replied with a reluctant, Yeah, don't get your knickers in a twist. But if we happen to run into him, I'm gonna knock that Drago's block off, and neither you or anybody else is gonna stop me. I guess Kid was going to get her way whether we liked it or not. Let's go, boys. The night is young. She cleared the railing with a sprightly hop and vanished inside the manor. I glanced toward Magiel and nodded in silence. We followed Kid's lead, and were soon inside Lord Lynx's lair. The darkness swallowed us whole. A corridor stretched off to the left and right from the terrace. It seemed equally dark and chilly in both directions. We decided to go right, or we decided to go left. Right is always right, so we're gonna go right. We passed on through the darkness, down corridors that turned and twisted, snake-like this way and that. Everything around us was still and silent, and it felt strangely like we were being watched. It was as if countless eyes were staring silently. What the fuck? I was reading! We continued, creeping cautiously down the corridors. Kid moved proudly and stealthily like a cat stalking its prey, while in the shadows Magiel followed, guiding swiftly and sinister like a sinister breeze. We pressed on in the embrace of the Weaver of Fate. I don't know why it did that. Let me read it. Leading the group as usual, Kid suddenly stopped. What's that? She jabbed her finger at something in the darkness. Straining my eyes, I could see a pale white bundle of something shaking in the shadows. Huh, that's strange. I moved in front of Kid to try to get a better look. And then suddenly, the strange presence started crawling across the floor toward us at an unbelievable speed. I didn't have the time to brace myself. The white figure reached my foot, then reared up to its full height. It was a skeleton. The skeleton and I stood face to face, its empty eye socket staring straight at me, or seeming to at least. What was I going to do? Assess the situation, tackle the skeleton, retreat. Let us tackle it. I charged in to tackle the skeleton. Yarg! Yarg. There was a crunching sound and a clattering of bones. The skeleton was knocked back by the blow. Its body split clean in two at the waist. Better luck next time, muttered Kid dryly. As if in response, the skeleton's upper body picked itself up from the ground, turning its skull towards me. Balancing its body with its left hand, it then pulled the skull from its head with its right hand. What's it doing now? Before I could get the words out, it had heaved its skull at me. What was I going to do? Dodge. Whoosh! The skull sailed past me as I quickly stepped aside. Ow! Only to smash into Kid, who was standing right behind me. That bloody hat! Why did you move out of the way for? She returned the favor by thumping me in the back of the head. Magiel walked over to where the skull lay on the floor and stamped on it, shattering it to pieces. The rest of the skeleton collapsed, falling apart with a clatter. It didn't move after that. We're done here. Let's get moving. Phew. I'd taken a few knocks, but I was alright. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Maybe I ain't such a drongo after all. Just goes to show any old weirdo can make something of themselves if they put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. Lynn, hello! You haven't missed much so far.
Hi.
Hi, Imposter Dave. Thanks for the resub. Thank you.
Believe it? They were just about to
We just got into the mansion. We fought some cats, and then we actually like went in, and then we fought a skeleton. So we just fought the skeleton.
I drew a dumb sketch I wanted to show you.
Hold on. Oh. Yeah. Show me. I'll take them this moment to take a couple bites of chicken because I am very hungry still.
Sending.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick bite. I have to like rip it first. Alrighty, one shot. Yum. Oh, that's adorable! Why are they holding Hot Chip? Oh my god, that's adorable. I love it.
You know why?
Are you saying that all Trin does is eat Hot Chip and lie?
Yes.
Fair. Oh, it's adorable. How much did Kijo get paid to be this friendly?
Anywho, sorry for the interruption.
No,
I had the idea and had to.
No, absolutely. It's fine. It's fine. I had so much fun on freaking Final Fantasy yesterday.
The only reason they don't get along is that she's a princess.
Yum. How's your day been so far, Lynn?
Modern AU, she's not, so they're peachy.
Yeah. I love modern AUs. They're so much fun. I have chicken in my teeth. Yeah. But how has your day been, Lynn? I know it's only noon. But like, that's still half the day technically.
I'm doing all right.
Hell yeah.
Just had to do that draw for practice and fun.
Hell yeah. Honestly, when I really think about it, I think Trin can handle spicy food.
And I had Reuben casserole for breakfast.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, sure.
I think Trin can handle spicy food pretty well, but hate wasabi. I don't think they like wasabi. Because wasabi is like, they tell you it's spicy, but it's not. It's just really bitter. Wasabi's ass. Wasabi's like actual ass.
Haha.
Wasabi tastes terrible. Oh, excuse me. Fizzy water. Alrighty. A short way along the corridor, running from the
I
right-hand
like
side.
bitter food, but it definitely needs to be on the right food.
Yes, bitterness is good, but it has to be on the right food. If it's not, then it's bleh. Like there's something about wasabi. It's like it's a bitterness that like kind of hurts. It doesn't. It's not a. It's not like a spicy hot where it's like It's just like like ugh. It's just uncomfortable to eat, and like I know some people might be like, "Oh, you haven't had like good wasabi," and I'm just like, I just don't think wasabi's good. Like, it's just there's something about the taste that is like, it just tastes like eating something bad. Like there are certain other flavors that when I have it, it reminds me of like staticky foam stuff with like bitter. I can't describe it,
Valid.
but it's
I know a lot of people think rye bread is gross. I eat that stuff plain.
I like rye chips when they're like in like Chex Mix, and like the blue moon that I ever have Chex Mix because I don't even buy that stuff. I haven't had like legitimate rye bread, I don't think.
To be fair, I make my own bread.
Yeah. Do people normally dip like cuz I rye bread is like naturally like brown, right? It's like brown?
Very.
Yeah. Do people eat it with spinach dip? Cuz I think I've had it with spinach dip.
Yes.
Yeah, I like rye. I was like, wait, I've had rye bread then. I've had it with spinach dip and I've had it on its
super
own.
yummy.
Yeah. People don't like rye? What?
And used to be dirt cheap dirty peasant bread.
And then the rich Yankees made freaking spinach dip and then they took all the rye.
Sure did.
Yo, it's like lobster. They'll be like, oh my god, this is such a steal. It's so delicious with butter.
LOL.
It's the same story with lobster. That used to be poor people food. It's literally a sea cockroach.
History is funny. Rich people used to get gout on purpose as a status symbol.
Yeah. It was in China, but rich people used to freaking break their feet in half as a status symbol.
Imagine getting extreme joint swelling and living in existential agony just to own the pores.
Man, get wrecked, I guess. Walking. Fuck that.
Haha.
Oysters as well. Yeah. I think it was the same thing with caviar, too. Like, they were just like, yo, freaking lobsters are literally freaking bottom dwellers. Same thing with like shrimp and crab. And the rich people were like, oh, garlic butter. Oh. Like, now I go to, I want to get a lobster and it's like, or just lobster tails. And they'll freaking set you out $20 for 2 tails. Like, no, eat my ass. Eat my ass for $20. Anywho.
Ha.
Kid pressed an ear against it, listening for any signs of life. Dead quiet. Don't reckon there's anybody in there. We opened the door. We turned back. We opened the door. In we go. Kin stilled her breath and reached for the handle. The door wasn't locked. It swung slowly open. What's this room supposed to be? Place is a dump. Kid had poked her head in through the door, taking a quick peek to see if there was anyone inside, and was disappointed by what she found. The room was large and littered with peculiar-looking machinery and knickknacks, all of which were covered in dust and had seemingly been dumped there haphazardly. Everything looked like it had been there rusting for a very long time. The ends of the room were completely dark, and it was impossible to tell just how big it was, or even what the walls and floor looked like. It seemed the manor's inhabitants had turned the old clock tower into a makeshift storage space some time ago. I stepped warily inside. Leave that alone. I looked over toward Magiel and saw a kid trying to pull something from the shadows. It was a huge sword that appeared to be very old indeed. You don't need that old bludgeon. It'll only get in the way. And as much of an antique as it is, it won't fetch much on the market in that condition. Yeah? Reckon it might, you know. There's plenty of collectors who just love old bits of junk. Well, some old bits of junk. Pouting, Kid left the sword where she stood. At least she put it back down gently. It was then that we heard a voice from the shadows. And what exactly are you doing here, I just about jumped out of my skin. Who's there? Kid and Magiel turned to face the voice, ready for a fight. A wizened crone emerged from the shadows. She was hunched over and wore a hood draped over her face. I could tell at a glance that she wasn't just old. She was positively ancient. It's just some draughty old bag. What do you think you're doing sneaking up on us like that? Kid's shoulders relaxed as the tension left her body. Magiel, however, continued to give the woman a piercing stare. Oh, what an impish little thing you are. Here to visit a friend, perhaps. Not in the dead of night, I suspect. The crone narrowed her eyes. Let's get a closer look at you. Oh, yes. You must be here to get your revenge on Lynx. How did she... My heart jumped. She seemed to know exactly who we were. We were in trouble. What if she sounded the alarm? We'd have to give up on the treasure and run for our lives. What were we going to do? Defiantly tell her she was right, play dumb, or just pretend we didn't hear her? Well, she probably would have sounded the alarm anyway, because she already knew why we're here and she hasn't. Play dumb, defiantly tell her she was right. So what if we are? Kid narrowed her eyes right back at the crone. What's it to you if we're here to get our revenge on old Lynxy boy? We're gonna do something about it. You never change, do you? The crone chuckled madly, her small frame shaking. Ah, the boldness of youth. Yes, that's the spirit. You what? Kid looked at the crone, completely confused. I was no less mystified. What the heck are you on about? Hi, mine is welcome. Oh, I love the old versions of the songs from Chrono Cross. Because these are all songs before, like, that were just, like, remastered and put into Chrono Cross. Ah, this is Star Stealing Girl. Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. Yes, it was around then that an innocent young thief stole into the manor, looking to singe Lord Lynx's whiskers. She couldn't have been much older than 10, now that I think of it. Shockingly, my gaze turned to Kid. A wet glint had appeared in Kid's eyes, but her glare was like ice. It felt as if the temperature in the room had suddenly dropped below freezing. With a chuckle, the crone continued her story, pretending not to have noticed the change in mood. She was an orphan, you know. Came after Lynx to avenge a woman who loved her like her own daughter. But all the vengefulness in the world couldn't change the fact that she was only a little girl. She was no match for Lynx's men, sadly. Sadly. And they quickly captured her. Lynx is the kind of man one would fear to have for an ally. Never mind a foe. Had it not been for the timely assistance of a friend of hers, the girl would have certainly been executed. The way the people of the manor told it, the very shadows pitied the girl and rushed in to spirit her away. I wonder how much of the tale could be true. I have nothing but sympathy for those who know failure, of course. You can't win all the time. And sometimes, against all the odds, fate really can be foiled, and the clockwork of history set into disarray. No, the ones I have no patience for are those who do not recognize their failure, and who fail and choose to give up as a result. The crone looked up from under her hood, stared Kid directly in the face, and grinned. Kid's anger faded, going way to a dumbfounded expression. If you wish to steal the jewel from Lynx, if you truly wish to triumph, you will have to let go of a treasure of your own, Kid. For as long as you cling on to it, the hands of your clock will never move. They'll stay exactly where they came to rest all those years ago. Who are you? Oh, me? Why, I'm just an old bag, like you said. I do apologize. I must have taken up a lot of your time with all my babbling. I'll leave you in peace. Ooh, but before I go... The crone turned to face me. You seem to be injured, young man. If you wish, I can take a look at your wounds. With all the attention suddenly turned toward me, I panicked a little. All right then, please do. All right then, please do. The crone muttered a few words as her bony fingers drew sigils in the air. A pale, gentle light began to surround my body, filling me with a strange warmth. Strike a light? That's no ordinary spell! Kid was impressed. I felt my wounds healing, and heard a nostalgic melody that soothed the wounds in my heart. Before I realized it, the crone was gone. Hey lady! Kid strained her eyes, scanning the darkness. But there was no one to be seen, and her calls went unanswered. Who the bloody heck was that? Kid looked like she'd just woken up on the floor of the Laughing Pig after a few too many. And what did she mean about you having to let go of a treasure? Well, we won't find any answers here. Time to move on. Magil brought us back down to earth, emotionless as always. It almost seemed as if he thought nothing had happened at all. Yeah, I guess you're right. Kid walked quickly to the door, keen to move on. Hold it, you! Just as I was about to follow Kid out of the room, she jabbed me in the side with her elbow. You stingy little bugger, Serge! Why didn't you tell us to share some of that healing magic with the rest of us? Classic Kid. The door led back into the corridor, which stretched off to the left and right. Rightward lay the depths of the manor, while the way to our left led back to the terrace. So right deeper into the manor, left down to the beginning. So we're gonna keep going right. Kid stopped in her tracks, signaling to us with a hand behind her back. She drew her knife and stared into the darkness. We heard the clinking of metal from just up ahead. Goblin guards. It wasn't likely there'd be anyone else going for a nighttime stroll around the manor wearing armor. I suggested a tactical retreat. I drew my knife and readied myself. She's probably ready to fight, so I'll draw mine. I'd picked up on the situation pretty quickly and drew my knife, preparing for a fight. Kid gave me a sideways glance. You know something? You're starting to look like a real thief. Now you just need to walk the walk, she grinned. All right, Saj, Magil, let's get 'em. Kid leapt forward, confident as ever. It was like she thought nothing could go wrong. There were 5 of them in total. There weren't any ordinary goblins, though. Having been well looked after in this palatial manor, they'd grown to be even bigger than Magil. Each of them was carrying the manor goblin's trademark, a morning star consisting of a rod and a heavy spiked iron ball on a chain. Wait, or is it a flail? I could never remember, and I didn't have much time to think more about it. The goblin came rushing at me, swinging its spiked ball chain overhead. I jumped back to evade the attack, I met the charge with my knife. I think jumping back. The iron ball crashed into the stone while I was standing on only moments before, crushing it. Had I tried to stop it with my knife, I would have been lucky to escape with a fractured skull. I stabbed the goblin through the back of its weapon hand. I drove my knife toward the goblin's chest. Its hand is down right now, so let's stab its hand. Having missed me, the goblin lost its balance. I plunged my knife through the back of its weapon hand. The goblin's face contorted with pain. Hi, Pale Shadow! Yeah, as it dropped its morning star, I knew that going for its hand would be more effective than trying to land a good hit on its fleshy, porcine body. I moved to the goblin's front and plunged my into its heart, threw my knife, using the opportunity to grab the morning star and get behind. Threw my knife to steal the mace from the goblin's belt and get behind it. It has a mace, so relatively close. I threw the knife at the goblin's face. By reflex, it immediately raised its buckler to catch the blow. I took the opportunity to swiftly free the goblin's mace from its belt and slip behind its back. All I had to do next was to bring the mace down on its head. The goblin turned around right on cue, and I slammed the mace down onto its face. It was a horrible squelch, and I felt a sickening crunch in the shock that ran through the weapon. The goblin's flabby form thudded onto the ground. Yeah. Exhausted, I panted for breath. Finally got a notch in your belt, eh? Taunted Kid, coming to my side. I wanted to say something, but I was too exhausted. Wait a second. What's that? There was a leather bag on the ground, containing some recently cooked meat. Lucky me! I bit into the meat without a moment's hesitation. After devouring the unexpected windfall, I felt a little better. Oi! Where's my share? Busted. I pretended not to hear. I was doing great. I felt like nothing could stop me. Maybe you ain't such a drawgo after all. Just goes to show, any weirdo can make something of himself if they put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. Continuing down the corridor, we came across a rather sturdy-looking door on our left. A little further on stood a stairway leading upward. Well, this door's clearly meant to keep something safe. If there ain't some kind of treasure behind it, me name ain't Kid. Sniff, sniff. Yep, that's the smell of cold hard cash. All right. She muttered to herself as she began to inspect the door more closely. Now, we're not here for money, but Kid likes money. Magiel said we should keep our eyes focused, but our protagonist here seems to like him some Kid. So let's go inside. It's probably a trap. Bah! What am I, stupid? Of course it's bloody locked. Kid had tried the door handle a few times before giving it a grumpy kick. Bloody door's got a magic barrier on it, and a bloody barrier's got a barrier of its own to boot. It'll take more than me putting me boot in it to get through all that. I see. And then unless we find the key, we don't have a hope of getting inside. Reckon I can handle a key hunt, especially if it's that idiot Lynx who's hidden it. If we can find his room, I'll sniff it out in 2 seconds flat. Just you watch. There was little more we could do here, so we decided to look elsewhere. We continued on. The corridor ended at the foot of some stairs. With Kid in the lead, we headed upwards. It was dark, and the stairwell was narrow. We watched our footing carefully as we climbed. The stone of the steps was worn smooth with age, and I lost count of how many there were as we spiraled onward and upward. The awful sense of foreboding haunted me. I had no idea why, but it felt as though we were marching to the gallows. When we arrived at the top of the stairs, we were greeted with an old, heavy door looming in the silence. It was deathly silent, and the still, clammy air added to the sense of ominous apprehension. Something's very wrong here, I muttered without thinking. I hear cursed whispers from beyond the door, Magil added, doing nothing to lift the mood. Grow up, will ya? Kid shot back at us derisively. She was already examining the door. Well, it ain't locked. and I don't hear anyone inside. We turned and went back down the stairs, or we went inside.
Let's
All
turn
right.
around and never talk about it.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi.
You didn't miss much. We fought some wildcats. We fought a skeleton. We saw an old lady who gave us a little bit of this kid's backstory, where they were an orphan, someone who treated them like a daughter was killed by Mr. Lynx, and they charged into his manor and got captured, but they didn't kill her because someone came to her defense. And now we're back to steal the frozen flame, and she's like, man, if I can kill Lynx at the same time, that sounds frickin' sweet. And we heard the old-timey rendition of Star Stealing Girl, which was like kids' like little backstory song, and then like the battle theme, which you'll probably hear again. We also faced a goblin. All right, here goes. Kid tried the handle. The door opened, and with a slow, heavy swing, revealed what lay beyond. I'm also eating chicken. Oh. Hold on, I dropped a pen. Hold on, I unplugged my controller. There we go. I have to chew. How's your day been, Anthony?
Been alright.
Hell yeah. Ah, there we go. It was a small cylindrical room that appeared to be the inside of one of the stone towers. It was completely deserted, and there were no windows. What's this supposed to be? Something about this place gives me the creeps. Still standing in the doorway, Kid seemed suddenly taken aback. There might be something in here. Let's take a closer look. Closer look at a bloody empty room? Pah, might as well. I guess. We did climb all them stairs. Kid stepped through the door, grumbling under her breath. I scanned the room, and then noticed something on the floor. The flagstones were covered in dozens of narrow scratches, and in places, there were thick black stains. Something in the stains spoke of a horror that no amount of scrubbing would ever wash away. A malice and a sadness beyond imagining. There's something written here. Crouching in front of a wall, Magil was inspecting some brownish markings that looked like more of the same stains. Someone's carved letters into the wall and scrambled them using blood magic? Kid had gone over to take a look. Looks pretty old. Hard to read, too. Some of it's been worn away. Let's see. I cannot hold out much longer. My only hope now is to leave the Acacian signet in this room. The Acacian signet? Suddenly, the door slammed shut. We jumped to our feet with a start. From above us, we heard an unsettling creaking sound. The walls and floor began to tremble. What the hell's going on? Kid's eyes darted around the room as she desperately tried to figure out what was happening. The creaking sound from above continued, and the ceiling moved ominously closer. Up there!
I love how graphically it's just like Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger, really.
We walked right into a bloody trap. Kid bit her lip. We gotta do something and fast. We don't have time to sit and think about this. We tried to smash down the wall. We tried to barge the door down. What was I gonna do? Surge, Kid's 3 meters, and then, oops. Oh yeah, some of these are timed. The edge of one of the sending blades sliced my forehead. There was no time. What are we gonna do? Barge the door. Kid sprang at the door like an arrow, slamming into it shoulder first, but it was far too heavy, and her light frame bounced right off it. Darn it. Magil raced toward the door like the wind, smashing into it with ferocious force. It made a creaking sound and shook from the impact, but stood firm. Desperately, I hurled myself at it too. Ugh. The shock of the impact rushed through my body, but it was no good. Meanwhile, the rusty creaking from above continued, as did the ceiling's inexorable journey downward, and to make matters worse, now countless blades were popping in and out. Surge, Magil, this is gonna take the 3 of us. Timing our blows, we all charged the door at once. Once, twice, a 3rd time, and then the door was open, and we were collapsed in a heap on the corridor on the outside. Wah! Behind us, We heard the sound of the bladed ceiling grinding in the stone floor of the tower room.
Ooh, this does sound rough.
The metallic scraping noise it made was awful. We
Okay.
could only look on in silent horror at the fate we'd so narrowly evaded. The machinery continued for a short while, before slowly coming to a stop. It seemed the ceiling trap had finally finished its grisly work. Pugga me! Talk about a nasty surprise! It is some sort of execution chamber? Magil continued, seeming to be deep in thought. In any case, that writing mentioned Acacia. Yeah, what was that all about? I asked. The Acacia Dragoons, the elite knightly order serving General Viper, who once governed the territory of Galesborough to the west. Former knightly order, I should say. They were wiped out more than a decade ago, by the lord of this very manor, no less. Uh-huh, thanks for the history lesson, Maj. Kid rose to her feet, patting off the dust. Too bad we're not here for fairy tale nights. Come on. We've got a lot more exploring left to do. Magil shrugged silently, and we headed back to the stairs.
Poor Magil.
With Kid in the lead, we headed downstairs. We went down the stairs and continued straight ahead, eventually coming across a sturdy-looking door to our right. The corridor continued further on back towards the terrace. We can't do this door. So we're going to continue on back towards the terrace. We continued down the corridor, eventually coming across a door on our left. The corridor continued on back toward the terrace. I think this is the door that led us to the old lady. In we go. I think this leads us to the old lady again. No sign of life. Hello? Any little old ladies in here? No? No kindly old dears who know more than they're letting on and lurking in the shadows? Come on. Come out. Wherever you are. Oi, lady! Show yourself! The silence spoke volumes. This is a waste of time, pronounced Magil flatly, turning on his heel. We left the dusty old storage room. There was an old lady in here, and she was the one that gave us Kid's backstory. The corridor led back to the corridor, which stretched off right and rightward lay the depths of the manor, while the way to our left led back to the terrace. We're gonna go back to the terrace, which is where we started. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. We kept following the corridor. We went out into the terrace. Okay, I'm going to be right back really quick. I just have to use the bathroom. Alright, we're back. We are back. Hello. Alrighty. We turned to the quiet terrace overlooking the garden, and then I talked to Kid, I talked to Magiel, we head back into the manor. Talk to Kid. Alright, Saj, you're finally starting to learn how to get your hands dirty, aren't you? I guess people really can change if they put in the effort. Kid's eyes shone with an impish playfulness. Well, she hadn't seen anything yet. We should go back inside. We're not here for fun, muttered Magiel. Well, he said that, but I'm going to try to talk to him now. You seem to be coping better than I expected, Serge. Told you before we left, you can count on me. I might have taken a few knocks, but I was all right. Nothing that would get the better of me anytime soon. Right. Dust yourself off and let's get moving. We've got work to do, said Kid. Well, she said that, but we went back into the manor. The corridor stretched off to the left and right from the terrace. We seemed equally dark and chilly. We weren't right before, so now let's go left. We took the corridor leading from the left-hand side of the terrace, eventually arriving at an intersection with some stairs. The path to the right led down the stairs. The path to the left was a dark side passage, and the main corridor continued straight onward. So, side passage, onward, or down the stairs. Let's go side passage. We headed down the side passage. At the end of it, we came to an old, immaculately polished door. We went inside. Kid gently pushed the door ajar and peeked into the room. The next thing I knew, she slipped inside. Majil and I followed. Looks like a study. The room was lit by the moonlight coming through the long, slender windows, slanting down in pale beams through the darkness. It was pretty big for a study, with an immaculate antique desk dominating the center. Ah, this is Viper Manor. This is a song. But like oldie. Ooh. There were rows of bookshelves lined with thick, dusty old tomes. I love it because like when it came to like the original one, this is still the music. Like literally, some of the songs from Chrono Cross were just updated versions of these songs, and I fucking love it.
Yes.
There are a row of bookshelves lined with thick, dusty old tomes. The wall to the rear of the room was decorated with paintings, and shelves of vases and painted plates stood before it. They all seemed to be curios from foreign lands. Let's check the desk. I went over to the desk and started searching the drawers. There, I found a neatly arranged set of pens, ink bottles, and other writing materials. Nothing of interest, in other words. A small portrait on the desk caught my eye. It was a picture of a young girl with a gentle smile on her lips. Who was she? That's the girl Lynx adopted. If you ask me, it wasn't 'cause he was looking to help the needy, said Kid, peering over my shoulder. She wrinkled her nose in distaste. Huh, not even a looker. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't a loud knock, but in the bottomless silence of the night, it might as well have been a thunderclap. Kid and I stood bolt upright and turned toward it. Majil, meanwhile, hid in the shadows, drifting away like smoke. Panicked, I whispered to Kid, "Hide behind the door in the shadows. Hide under the desk. Hide behind the door. Quick, get behind the door." We kept our bodies low as we silently and swiftly made for the back of the door, where the shadows would keep us hidden. We pressed our backs to the wall and did our best to still our breathing. Slowly, the door opened. Flickering candlelight spread from the doorway with a warm glow. I held my breath. But it seemed that whoever it was didn't mean to come in. They simply stood there. Strange. I thought I heard something. But the Lord of the Manor is away, of course. Why would there be anyone in here? I have to get over my nerves. Everything was fine until we heard the news that Pori was on the move. The figure quietly closed the door, plunging the room back into darkness. The voice trailed off to a whisper. We remained motionless, keeping our ears pricked for any sign of any unwelcome return. All we heard were footsteps moving away. So Pori has made its move. Majil emerged from the shadows, contemplating the news we'd overheard. Just wanna, yeah. Kid, if the rumors are true, we might well be about to find ourselves in a very difficult situation. This seemed to set her thinking too. Pori was a powerful nation that ruled the southern continent. I'd heard it was there we go. I heard it was I keep saying preposterous. I heard it was.
Fucking Christ.
I'd heard it was a prosperous land whose recent and sudden development had pushed it far ahead of its neighbors, which made me wonder, what would its inhabitants want here, out in the sticks? They couldn't be after the frozen flame too, could they? As valuable as it might be, a jewel was just a jewel in the grand scheme of things. I couldn't imagine it being an item of national interest. I mean, ultimately, it was just a pretty rock. Right? Heh, let them do what they want. If everyone's busy playing soldiers, it won't be bothering us. Come on, we've got things to do. She headed for the door. We left the room and made our way back down the side passage. We made our way back down the dark side passage leading from the study. Eventually, we arrived at the intersection. Some stairs led downward, and the corridor branched left and right, with the right branch leading back toward the terrace. We went down the stairs, we went to the right branch, or we took the left branch, or we turned back. If we go right, it'll take us back to the terrace. Let us go down the stairs. Slowly, we crept down the staircase, descending deeper into blackness as we went. At the bottom, the path split. The way to the left continued to an atrium that resembled a sort of plaza, while the path to the right was a winding passageway that trailed off into darkness. Let's go towards the atrium. Kid poked her head through the arch-shaped door and took a look around. Huh, it's big in here. Must be some kind of hole. We took a cautious look around, then entered one after another. The atrium was like a beautiful plaza, complete with a statue that doubled as a fountain. Pillars and arches lined the walls, and in the center was a small pool of clear water above which a statue stood. On the other side of the room, I could see another arched entrance like the one we had come through. Oh, that's cold! Kid was scooping up water from the fountain. I went over to her and, resting my head on the edge of the marble basin, peered into the pool beneath. Shadows flickered under the water's surface. You reckon those fish are rare? As in, valuable? Kid leaned right over the edge. I couldn't see the bottom. I wondered how deep it was. The shadow of one of the fish grew larger and larger. Whoa! Sensing danger, Kid leapt back from the edge. Clack! A fish leapt out from the water and snapped at her, its jaws bristling with razor-sharp teeth. Its mouth closed shut in the air where she'd only been moments before, and with a splash, the fish darted back under the water. Piranodons! Deadly carnivorous fish with razor-sharp teeth and powerful jaws that could snap a monster's horn in half. Staring in horror, I watched as dark shadows began to gather in what little of the pool I could make out. The piranodons must have detected prey. Soon, the room was filled with the sound of splashing and snapping as the fish teemed at the water's surface. Bloody hell! Even Kid was uneasy. She took another step back. How many piranodons were in the pool? The thought of what would happen if they all leapt clear of the water and attacked at once crossed my mind. A bead of cold sweat rolled down my forehead. Suddenly, the water coming from the statue turned crimson and shot out a powerful jet that nearly touched the ceiling. Kid jumped back again. I stood in shock, watching the torrent of water erupting from the statue. The scarlet waters continued to gush out from the fountain. The pool grew redder and redder and started to overflow. We looked on, entranced, but the spell was soon broken when we realized that the water was starting to flow faster and faster over the rim of the basin. The piranodons began to jump and snap at the water's surface with bloodthirsty glee. I was brought to my senses by the dull slapping sound of piranodons hitting the floor. We can leave! We can leave! Ah! Damn it! They're timed, I forget! Ah! A bolt of pain shot up my calf, and I came close to fainting. I stood my ground as best I could, flicking away the piranodon that had bitten me. But soon, a horrible ring of shadows began to circle the water around me. I was surrounded. What was I going to do? Deal with the fish. What? You want to try to pick this little lot off one by one? Kid glared back at me, her face a picture of exasperated disbelief. Don't be a bloody idiot, Serge. You want to die here? While I stood there, my mouth agape, a piranodon sank its teeth into my foot. A jolt of pain surged up my leg, making me jump. What was I going to do? Rush back the way we came. Kid, let's get out of here. In a panic, we splashed through the water back to the corridor we came from. The fangs of the piranodon snapped at my legs, and I felt a searing pain, but I had to endure it if I had any hopes of reaching the entrance. Breathing heavily, I found myself back in the corridor outside. Phew, that was a close call. So the whole thing was a trap, eh? Talk about twisted. Things is even more of a sick bastard than I thought. I was about to say he wouldn't have I was about to say he wouldn't have to be if he didn't have to guard against people like her breaking into his home, but I thought better of it. Well, at any rate, I think we can consider that a dead end. Let's go back. Defeated, we left the atrium. Something caused Kid to stop in her tracks. Hello, hello, what do we have here? She pointed to the side of the entranceway to the hall. I found myself face to face with the sculpture of an old man's face with a truly phenomenal beard. The sculpture's eyes seemed to gleam with life. For a piece of marble, it seemed almost too realistic. It's a mouth of truth, announced Magiel. An enchanted statue that can tell you when you're lying. If it catches you out, it'll bite your hand off. Magiel kept his explanation simple so that Kid wouldn't drift off before he got to the important part. Huh. So what's it doing here then? I suspect it's part of a greater mechanism. Stick your hand in its gulp, do ya? Righto, let's see what happens, shall we? With a mischievous glint in her eyes, Kid darted over and stuck her hand in its mouth without a moment's hesitation. She stood there for a moment waiting, but it didn't take long for her to get bored. Huh, nothing. Suddenly, I had an idea. Hey kid, who's the greatest thief who ever lived? Ha! Me, of course, you drunk. Kid answered without a moment's hesitation, and then suddenly her face twisted with pain. The teeth of the marble sculpture had clamped down on her hand. It bit me! She cried. Knock it off! Everyone knows the truth! Ow! The sculpture bit her again as soon as she spoke. Gah, you little... A cold sweat formed on Kid's forehead. The sculpture was tightening its grip. It won't let go unless you say something true. Despite the obvious urgency of the situation, Magiel was as matter-of-fact as ever. Just say anything, Kid. Anything, as long as it's the truth. Obviously, Kid wasn't listening. Instead, she just kicked awkwardly at the statue. Oi, Beardy! Let go of me bloody hand! She planted her feet either side of its mouth and tried her hardest to pull herself out. She heaved, kicked and stomped, grunted and strained. And then finally her hand popped free. I was taken aback by what I just witnessed and couldn't say a word. See? Told you it was the truth. Kid raised her hand in the air triumphantly, as if to demonstrate. I could see heavy bite marks. The sculpture hadn't come away from the struggle unscathed either. Kid's attempt to break free had left it cracked in several places. Magiel pointed silently at part of it. I went to take a closer look and saw a pale, flesh-colored tongue. I expect we're supposed to put something there, commented Magiel. Something? What exactly? I replied. Kid stood there for a moment, lost in thought, and then she started to unload all the knickknacks she'd been carrying. It was a strange collection of odds and ends, pulled out from her pockets, her boots, and even from her braid. All right, Serge, now it's your turn to have a go with that stupid statue. Kid grinned at me, holding her assortment of knickknacks out in the palms of both hands. I guess she decided that whatever further horrors the statue had in store, she'd rather not face them herself. Nice kid. Real nice. Grumbling to myself, I reached out to pick an item. I chose. There's a small silver mirror, a file, a centipede, a tube of lipstick, some dried grapes, a length of... a length of fine thread, a sizable petard. I don't know what petard is. A vellum scroll. To not waste my time on this, I chose...
It's a small bomb made of metal or a wooden box filled with powder.
Okay. I like how one of the choices is to not waste my time on this.
I choose to not waste my time on. I love it.
Why do you have a centipede?
Why a centipede? Yeah.
Some dried grapes. I took a small bag of dried grapes. One by one, I fed them into the sculpture's marble maw. Munch, munch. Ugh, it actually ate them. That's enough, Serge. Those are my emergency rations you're wasting. Kid snatched the bag from my hands. I still had the last grape, though, so I popped it in my mouth. It was absolutely delicious. Not for you either, sunshine, growled Kid, glaring at me. You gotta take this seriously, Serge, or should I leave you alone with Beardy here? She was clearly annoyed, But I hadn't worn her patience completely thin just yet. I decided to try something else. I chose...
Can't help but notice that the dried grapes are still there.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder.
I think I did... Did I lose an option, though? No, I really didn't.
No.
A small silver mirror. I took the small silver mirror. The sculpture stared impassively, its marble beard still commanding my attention. I stuffed the mirror into its mouth. It didn't seem to be the right item for the job. Don't see any cavities. Yeah, very funny. I gave me my favorite mirror back before that thing chomps it to pieces. She lost her patience and snatched it off me. It was rather a nice mirror. I pictured her gazing into it as she braided her hair. Do you want to try something else? Asked Magiel dryly. I chose... a centipede. Why do you have a centipede, kid? Oh, that is just... What are you doing walking around with a centipede in your pockets? I reeled back in disgust. This isn't your pet or something, is it? Don't be thick, Sag. It's a toy, not a pet. A toy? You could have picked something nicer. It is nice. Nice for giving people nasty surprises. She seemed to think that was an entirely reasonable attitude. Entirely reasonable to her, maybe. What was she doing with all this stuff? I reached for the rubber centipede. Trying not to think too hard about what I was doing, I stuck it into the mouth of Truth, only for it to fall down the back of its throat. Saj, you'll pay for this, growled Kid, staring daggers at me. Yikes, I'll get it back, I promise. Stealing my nerve, I reached into the mouth of Truth. Suddenly my hair stood on end. It was licking my hand. The giant, uncanny tongue slopped back and forth across my fingers like I was a lollipop. Ugh, I'm gonna puke. Keep it together, Saj. Do it for the centipede. Kid's support didn't do much to help me, but I somehow managed to pinch the centipede with the tips of my fingers and pull it out. You must really love this thing. Aw, not really. I just hate to see stuff go to waste. I'm sorry. What? Why had I even bothered? Well, no luck there either. Want to try something else? Asked Kid, almost like this was a game. I just wanted this to be over with. I reached out for the next item and chose... Let's go with a Valum... No, wait, Petard. Petard is the one with gunpowder?
It's a bomb.
It's bomb. Yeah. A vellum scroll. What the hell's vellum? Let's go Petard. I picked up the sizable petard. Anxiously, I shoved it inside the mouth of Truth, but nothing happened. Let the professionals handle this, Saj. Kid shoved me aside. She was holding a match. Wait a second, you can't be serious! All the blood drained from my face. Deadly serious, mate. Before I could say another word, Kid lit the fuse. An explosion followed, accompanied by a puff of white smoke. When the smoke had cleared, the mouth of Truth came into view once more. Still intact, but now very badly cracked indeed. Vellum is a type of paper made from hide. Okay. Huh. Not quite enough oomph to knock its block off, eh? Should have brought a bigger one. Kid stood there with her arms folded, calmly commenting on the mayhem she'd just caused. What do you think you're doing? I can't believe you just... What do you think you're doing? I can't believe you just set that thing off like that. Kid shot me a look. What do you mean? What else are you gonna do with a bomb? She was a complete and utter liability. Well, any more ideas, Saj? Asked Kid breezily. I chose... Okay, we've tried the centipede, a tube of lipstick, dried grapes, length of fine thread, vellum scroll, a file, a centipede. Not to waste my time on this. A length of fine... I took the piece of thread, a length of very finely spun silk. It didn't seem like a good idea to just shove it in, so I tried dangling it into the statue's mouth. Watch yourself, that stuff ain't cheap. It's made by royal silkworms, I'll have you know. Kid watched me critically. A thread slipped deeper and deeper into the mouth of truth, and then I felt a slight tug. I tried winding it carefully back around my finger. At the end of it was a small piece of paper. Nice one, Serge. That's gotta be a clue. Kid's eyes lit up with delight. The note says, try again. We stood in stunned silence. You licky, tricky piece of... Ugh! Kid ripped up the paper in a rage and threw it away, then started kicking the mouth of truth. Maggie was leaning against the wall, watching the spectacle in silence. I'm guessing that wasn't the one then. What next? I mean, maybe it can write on this? I picked up a peculiar piece of parchment. Bracing myself, I shoved it into the mouth of truth. Ha ha ha! Nice one, Mr. Master Thief! You think it's a magic scroll or something? Kid doubled over with laughter. Guess that didn't work. With a sheepish chuckle, I pulled it out again. Oops! My hand slipped, and the scroll unfurled. It was filled with strange symbols. Noticing the confused look on my face, Majo spoke up. It's a decoding chart used for the Imperial Guard's field reports. Huh. Well, it's all gibberish to me. Wouldn't be much of a code if it wasn't, would it? Kid muttered witheringly. I was too embarrassed to reply. Once I clawed back some of my pride, I attempted a recovery. You'll, have to walk me through it sometime. She just pouted and looked away. Oh, so you can't read it either. Boy, can I pick my moments. Fine. If you're gonna take that seriously, if you're not gonna take this seriously, we're leaving you behind. Sometimes she could be cold as ice. I had really done it now. She made to leave, but I grabbed her gently by the shoulder. Look, I'm not messing around. I'm sure this next idea is going to work. Huh. I'll believe it when I bloody well see it. Kid didn't seem convinced. The stakes were high. I looked again at her collection of knickknacks and chose. There's a file, a tube of lipstick. We've tried everything but a file and a tube of lipstick. So let's go a file. I took the file and placed it inside the mouth of the marble sculpture. It didn't seem to be the right item for the job. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I was stunned. The mouth of truth had started chewing on the file. It was eating it. Ah! Kid screamed with rage. Me file! Me lovely, scratchy, scrappy file! I can't believe you just let that happen! Crunch. You're in big trouble now, mate! She was clenching her fists and trembling with fury. Sorry! I'll get you another one, I promise! I also wanted to add, just don't hit me, but thought better of it. I'll hold you to that, muttered Kid in a threatening grumble. If you're just gonna feed the statue all me stuff, we're done here. I promise that's not what I'm trying to do. You better bloody not be, mate. Once again, she showed me her collection. I chose. The file's there. A tube of lipstick. I picked up the small, lacquered tube of lipstick, and without knowing quite why, smeared it all over the statue's mouth. What are you... Me lippy! Kid exploded with fury at the sight of the mouth of Truth's ripe red lips. What are you getting so mad about? You don't even wear makeup. It's for marking our path to make sure we don't get lost. Huh, I didn't realize. Guess that would explain why you brought it with you. What exactly is that supposed to mean? What's so funny about you having lipstick anyhow? Gulp. Nothing at all. It didn't take much to tell that this was a calm before the storm. You better buy me some more when we're done here. Yep, she was mad all right. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just try something else. Kid gave me a doubting glare in response to my apology. Take this seriously or I'm through with you. I gulped and nodded in a panic and reached out for the next item. I think we've literally...
The only thing we haven't done is not waste our time on the... Was
Yeah.
the actual answer just to walk away?
I lingered for a moment, but pulled my hand away. It didn't seem like any of... It didn't seem like any of them was what we were looking for. Alright, let's forget about it for now, muttered Kid, stowing all her valuables. I'm sure we'd find a use for this stuff. Whatever, best get moving, eh? Defeated, we left the atrium behind us. Leaving the atrium behind us, we immediately found ourselves at a fork in the path. To the right was a passage to some stairs leading upward. A dark passageway continued on directly ahead of where we stood. I think... No. Towards the stairs? Path ahead. We left the atrium and continued down the path ahead. Eventually, we came across an ornate door on the right-hand side. Something smelled fresh and pleasant. Flowers? Was it coming from inside? Let's go inside. The door opens. We found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. The knickknacks and curios dotted around the place seemed to be well loved. The stately desk and the cozy-looking bed nearby, meanwhile, suggested the room's occupant was no stranger to luxury. Though the room was richly furnished, somehow it still felt awfully lonely. Kid took a quick look around before commenting. "It's Lynx's gal's room." A half-written letter on the desk and a teacup, still warm, suggested that the lady of the manor was still nearby. But it didn't seem that anyone was here now. We decided to search the room. Some charming flowers, a discarded cotton handkerchief, a small bottle of perfume. Nothing that meant much to me, nor anything that seemed particularly valuable. Kid seemed to have the same impression and scanned the room, clearly not expecting to find anything. The only item of note was a small antique box, which bore a crest resembling a viper. I decided where to look next. I opened the chest of drawers, I picked up the little box. I picked up the small wooden box on the bookshelf. I gently opened the lid and was greeted by a soothing melody. A music box? There was something about that song. Oh, I recognize this song too. Do you guys recognize it? Do you recognize it, Lynn? Ah, it kills me. It's the overworld song from Another World. I love it. Anywho, there was something about that song. I know this tune. Kid was standing next to me, and I could see something had changed in her expression. You do, huh, Kid? Someone used to sing it to me. A long time ago. She turned her gaze downward and went silent. Kid? Startled, she turned to me. Her eyelashes glinted, as if wet with dew. She walked to the door, not saying a word. Hey, Kid, wait up! We left the room. Was she crying? Was Kid crying? Maybe I was just seeing things. The passage outside the room continued to our left and right. The path to the right led deeper into the darkness of the manor. Meanwhile, going left would take us to the atrium and another branch. Okay, so toward the atrium with the fountain is where the piranhas are. But now that we left, maybe the water receded. Continue down the corridor. It was left. Turn in the corridor leading to some stairs upward. The corridor also continued straight. Okay. Let's go into the atrium. You gotta be kidding me, shouted Kid, glaring at me. Are you telling me to swim through a bloody lake of piranodons? Yeah, you can count me out, mate. How am I supposed to charm me victims with big chunks bitten out of me? I guess she had a point. Here's a better plan. Why don't we go back to Beardy and try sticking something down his gulp? Sure enough, she pulled out her bundle of odds and ends. Do I have to? She asked, knowing the answer. Which was probably just as well, since Kid only glared at me in response. My hand hovered over for a moment to finally reach for something. We don't have anything new, so... not waste our time on this.
Fuck you supposed to put in its goddamn mouth?
I don't know. There were other things to check in the room, though, and I want to check it again. It was Riddle's room. Lynx's daughter. We went inside. Mm-hmm. Oh. The window was slightly ajar, bringing in some much-needed fresh air. It seemed that someone had been here only moments ago. Let's come back later. We left Riddle's room for now. Okay. The passage outside the room continued to our left and right. The path to the right led deeper into the darkness of the manor. Meanwhile, going left would take us to the atrium and another branch. Let's, passage to the right. Suddenly, the darkness felt opaque. Something like a thick haze floated in the air in front of us. And then it took form, like someone blowing smoke into a person-shaped bottle. It was robed in a ragged shroud, and its sunken eyes glinted menacingly. It was the burning hatred that lingers even after death given form, a being driven by a hatred for all living things. A ghost. Bugger, that's us out. She bit her lip. That wasn't anything she or I could do to deal with an enemy that had no physical body. The voice boomed out behind me. Magiel had begun casting a spell. I jumped behind Magiel. I knew it was useless, but I drew my knife. My eyes met Kid's and Magiel's, and without a word being exchanged between us, a plan was hatched. We both already seen an opening. Magiel quickly lobbed a spell at the ghost to distract it, as we slipped away while its attention was elsewhere. The ghost suddenly swelled in size, attempting to trap us within its spectral embrace and drain our life force. I felt an incredible cold at the tips of my toes. I'd barely touched the ghost, but I could feel that a huge amount of energy had been drained from me in just that brief moment. But there was no time to dwell on this brush with death. Having spotted an opening between the ghost and the wall, we quickly slipped through it and were away. We went down the dark passageway, eventually finding ourselves at a sturdy-looking, immaculately polished door. Kid sniffed at the air. Just as I thought, something stinks here. I reckon we found the beast's lair, lads. In the darkness, Kid's lips twisted into a grin and turned my blood cold. We went inside. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. It was Lynx's room, but he didn't seem to be around. Huh. The bugger's gone and scampered because he heard I was coming. There was something deeply unpleasant about the room. There wasn't anything unusual about the furniture and fittings, not how they looked or how they were made, but taken as a whole, it felt discordant. Was this a reflection of Lynx? A seemingly ordinary facade that hid a disturbing truth only some could see? Right, I bet we'll find the key to the vault in here, or a clue about where to find it. I started searching through the room. The desk drawers, the paintings on the wall, the vase on top of the side table, I left no stone unturned. There didn't seem to be anything suspicious, but as I scanned the room, something unusual caught my eye. There was a pedestal on one corner with a significant-looking scarlet cloth drawn over it. I slowly raised my hand toward it. I carefully pulled the cloth away, revealing a mirror. It was old-fashioned and of an elaborately decorated style. I'd seen before, and in it was reflected a statue of Venus. Suddenly, the eyes of the statue shone with light. What is your desire? The mirror! It's speaking! Kid and Magiel ran to my side. There's no need for panic. It's a whispering mirror, nothing more, said Magiel flatly. What's one of those? A magical mirror in which a spirit dwells. The spirit can freely move between its own and other mirrors, and will share its wisdom with those who ask. Interesting. What should I ask it? I asked it where the key to the vault was. I asked it where Lynx was. I asked it about Kid's measurements. Where's Lynx? Where the hell is Lynx? Kid asked, her eyes narrowing suspiciously. The surface of the mirror rippled with a gentle eddy. Slowly, letters began to take form. What's this say? I humbly request that you go and find him yourself? That's cute. You ever wonder what it's like to be shattered? Spat Kid, glaring at the mirror. It said nothing in response, as if pretending it couldn't hear. The spirit of the mirror appears to have moved on. Speak if you wish, but it will not hear you, muttered Magiel. Huh, fine then. Let's go somewhere else. With that, we left Lynx's room. I think we asked it the wrong question. The corridor stretched out behind the door. We retraced our steps. Eventually, we came across an ornate door on the left-hand side. It was Riddle's room. Let's turn back and try to go back in it. See if we can ask the... Let's go back inside. Maybe she can help. It was dark like the surface of a lake at night. What is your desire? Do you know where the key to the vault is? The mirror's reflection rippled and changed to reveal a room with numerous bookshelves. A deep, sonorous voice spoke. You will find the key in the place I have revealed, the study. It is inside a book with a purple cover in the furthest bookshelf from the door. The image of the study vanished from the mirror and the voice went silent. It appears the spirit has left for another mirror. To the study, then. As I made to leave the room, a low voice rumbled through the air, stopping me dead in my tracks. Beware. He knows. Was it the voice of the mirror again? What did it mean? Hurry up, or we're leaving you behind, Saj, called Kid from outside. Flustered, I rushed after her. The corridor stretched out beyond the door. We retraced our steps. Eventually, we came across the ornate door on the left-hand side. It was Riddle's room, Lynx's daughter. Is she back in yet? Occupant was no longer richly furnished. Half written, lit on a desk, teacup warm, slightly ajar. I like how it has like little things going on. Someone had been here only moments ago. Let's come back later. Rattle. Kid stopped us. There's something there. I listened carefully. Rattle, rattle, rattle. A figure appeared in the darkness on the other side of the corridor. It's a skeleton! We readied ourselves for a fight. I attacked. I leaped at the skeleton. I lashed out with its sword. Blood dripped from my blood dripped from my face. The tip of the blade had scratched my cheek. Eep! I jumped back and wow, I can't read. Hope you brought your brown trousers, grumbled Kid. We squared off against the skeleton. It threw the sword it was carrying to the ground and took a step forward, and then twisted its body into a strange pose. Wait, is it doing what I think it is? It proceeded to contort itself further, adopting a shape that could only be described as highly suggestive. For a moment, no one knew quite how to respond. What the bloody hell? What should we... Wait, Kid, look at Madge. Madge seemed completely bewitched. There was no way he'd be any use to us in this state. What are we going to do? I attacked. I charged at the skeleton. I took advantage of the opening created when it raised its sword and kicked it as hard as I could in the lower spine. With an almighty crack as the bone snapped and the skeleton fell in two. A split second later, Kid landed a massive blow on the top half. With its skull shattered, the skeleton immediately came to a halt. Huh, guess you can fight after all. We had defeated the skeleton. Kid turned to attention to Magiel. Can't believe this Drongo though. Thwack. She brought her fist down hard on his head. Maybe that'll wake you up. Now if we're done here, let's get a bloody move on. What was I? Oh, ow. Phew. I'd taken a few knocks, but I was alright. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Maybe it's such a Drongo after all. Just goes to show, any weirdo can make something of themselves if they put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. The passage outside the room continued to our left and right. Going right would take us to Lynx's room. Meanwhile, going left would take us to the atrium and another branch. Towards the atrium and the fountain, but we're not going to go into the atrium. We have to find the study. There was a left turn in the corridor leading to some stairs going upward. The corridor also continued straight towards the entrance. I think upstairs was the... With Kid leading the way, we started to climb the narrow staircase. At the top, we found another intersection. Taking the corridor to the right would lead us to a dead end with a large door, while the way to the left led up to the terrace. The narrow side passage in front of us was open. Here we go, the side passage toward the study. We headed down the side passage. At the end of it, we came to an old, immaculately polished door. This was the study. We went inside.
I think I'm gonna go.
Yeah?
I'm gonna lie down. Been fucking tired.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll catch you Zelda.
Yeah, we'll see you
fun.
with Zelda. Yeah.
Have fun.
Yay. Right, let's find this key. Light on her feet as always, Kid moved to the center of the room. Where'd the mirror say it
Have
was
a nice
again?
nap and I'm too late.
Where'd the mirror say it was again, Serge? She was asking me? How was I supposed to remember? Wow, they give you a lot of options, but I remember it's with the purple cover and the far bookcase. I think it was supposed to be the one with the purple cover and the furthest bookcase. Alright, let's see. Seeming to take my word for it, Kid made for the case in question. Right, this is the one. Purple cover, purple cover. Aha! This has gotta be it! Kid pulled out a book from the bottom shelf. Magiel and I watched as she opened it. The pages were hollowed out, and inside was an old key decorated with strange symbols. Nailed it! Nice one, Saj! Kid snatched the key from inside of the book. Right, time to finally get a look at this treasure. Having got what we came for, we left the study. We made our way back to the dark side passage leading from the study. Eventually, we arrived back at the intersection. Some stairs led downward, and the corridor branched left and right, with the right branch leading back toward the terrace. I think the door was on the other pathway, so we need to go to the terrace. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. Went out to the terrace. Let's talk to Kid real quick. Alright, let's go back into the manor. Right down the corridor. Ancient looking door, again on our right. It looked like this was the way to the clock tower. We continued on. Kid suddenly stopped. What's that? She jabbed her finger at something in the distance. Straining my eyes, I could see a pale white bundle. Alrighty. Yeah, this is a skeleton. There's your hood. I reached up at the start to find the skull had clamped onto my hood with its teeth. I freaked out, tore off my hood. I tried to pull off my hood, but my hands refused to cooperate and I could only flap my hands at the skull uselessly. That was when I heard Maggio snap at me. Stand still. Crack. My head exploded with stars as Maggio's foot slammed into the back of my head. I gasped, and for a moment I thought I was going to pass out. The skull, meanwhile, shattered to pieces like an eggshell. Bits of broken bone scattered down from the top of my head. The rest of the skeleton froze mid-charge and fell apart, and the bones lay motionless on the floor. Nice one, Maj. Yeah, thanks. You didn't have to kick me in the head, though. We're finished here. Let's get moving. Ow. I was starting to feel a little worse for wear. I was going to have to be more careful from now on, or this was going to end badly. A little further on stood a stairway leading upward. Went inside. This should do it. Kid slipped the key we found into the lock. Lines of magical light flashed across the surface of the door and vanished as various magical barriers were dispelled. Up, down, left, right, blue, red, green, every color under the sun, and then all was quiet and the darkness of the manor returned. Right, we're in. With a creak, the heavy door gently swung open. As soon as I saw what was inside, I gave a gasp. Kid stepped inside. Wow, we've hit the mother lode. Out of the darkness loomed a veritable mountain of gold, silver, priceless works of art, and exquisite trinkets. Kid looked as if she were on the verge of drooling at the sight of it all, but what thief wouldn't have been? After all, this was the kind of hoard that few people would ever come across in their lifetime. The smallest fraction of this vast mound of riches would have seen even the most careless spendthrift set for life. Our goal is the frozen flame. Ignore the rest. Magil spoke with an icy dedication to our mission. He had not even batted an eyelid at the sight that greeted us. Yeah, I know. She was disappointed, of course. But as soon as she set out, scanning the room for the object of our hunt. Wait, is that it? Look on the pedestal over there. I turned to see what Kid was pointing at. Aw, man. The music. There it was. A small yet perfectly formed jewel that gave off a pale red light. A jewel that looked like a flickering fire suspended in time. The frozen flame. Silently, Magil walked toward the pedestal. I called out, "Wait, we have to be careful." You're right. This is Lynx we're dealing with, after all. It may very well be trapped. We should be on our guard. I can't remember the exact name, but Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross reused a lot of music. We need to think quick about this. But fine, have it your way, grumbled Kid, looking away.
It's good music.
Yes. Magil examined the pedestal for a short while, then paused. We were wise to be cautious. Placing his left hand on the base of the pedestal, he muttered an incantation, drawing quick sigils in the air with his right hand. Some glyphs appeared on its smooth surface, and for a moment, blazed brightly. I'm trying to remember when this played in Chrono Cross. It played several times. I'm just taking a moment to eat. My chicken has gone cold and I'm sad. I also just want to enjoy the music. I really enjoy it. I think it was during like story time, like music, like plot top moments. It played. Either way, God, Chrono Cross's music is so good. There's a soundtrack album. You have to buy it. Because people thought that, people thought that the game was gonna have the reorchestrated music, but it didn't. That was an error that was said during the trailer.
On board with that.
But, definitely tempted to buy that soundtrack. Because I want, if it's probably on YouTube though, but I definitely want to hear the reorchestrated versions of these songs. Because they redid the whole soundtrack. And I'm sad they didn't put it in the game. I would have loved to have heard it. They definitely did change it for the opening, the menu. It was definitely a lot more chorusy this time around than originally. Aside from that, all the music was the original music. Which, That's fine. The original music still aged wonderfully, like a fine wine. Like, holy fuck. I know Deco has Chrono Trigger music in his like RP playlist. He needs to get on it and get Chrono Cross's music in it. But unlike Jake, he's using Spotify. And I don't know if it's on Spotify. And that's where things become an issue. Because if it's not on Spotify, then there you go. It's not on Spotify. You can't use it. Jake uses the YouTube playlist, which comes with perks, yes. Because almost anything's on YouTube these days. Only drawback is YouTube's playlist system fucking sucks. It's a beautiful melody, yet kind of sad. Yeah. A good bit of Chrono Cross's music, especially during the plot heavy stuff, do give an air of tragedy. Is Chrono Cross and all this a tragic story? One would say yes or no. But
Reminds me, I keep wanting to expand that playlist for him, and make multiple ones to avoid that whole "hey, this definitely isn't suiting" bit.
well, here's the thing, and this solution is so easy. I don't know if Jake knows how to do it, but you can assign collaborators to playlists so that they, I think you just add their account name so that they can add music to, or could add videos to playlists. All Jake needs to do is give either you or me or both of us access to this playlist, and we can add songs. And there's also a site.
That would be nice.
There's also a site that would better shuffles the music for you, because again, YouTube's shuffle fucking sucks unless you're running YouTube mobile. Like, that's the only time its shuffle is actually any good. YouTube on desktop, it's absolute trash. It doesn't actually shuffle. It just picks a song it just picks a video at random and plays it, and doesn't consider that maybe you want each thing to play maybe once. So I'm gonna be right back really quick. I'm just gonna get another drink. I'm not gonna go on BRB screen. I just have to go to the fridge. Jester got freaking raspberry juice, and raspberry juice is okay. It's nothing to really write home about. Just tart berry water. I know that sounds stupid now that I've said it, but it's just raspberry juice. I feel like raspberries are so much better with, like, mixed with other things than on their own. I know I also finished my chicken, but I also have cheese, because I like cheese. Anywho. Now that we've enjoyed this song for a bit too long.
I'd like to set up a battle, casual, humorous, solemn, and tense list.
Yeah, we need a solemn playlist. We need to expand the battle one. Definitely like a regular combat and like boss combat. A more like lighthearted, casually character moment playlist, and definitely like a serious character playlist, like Expo Dump stuff. I am definitely. You and I need to take a moment to like actually build these playlists and just give them to Jake, because that's honestly what I've thought about doing. Anywho.
Mostly we have a problem with it shuffling from serious mode into silly chimes.
Yeah, we really do. That's where having multiple playlists are more advantageous, because then Jake, when he's like, oh, this moment's getting serious, you can just pause it and go to the next and go to another one.
Precisely.
Because yeah, we do have those moments where it's like, man, this song doesn't fit. There, now we can proceed. Majo calmly reached out and grabbed a hold of the red jewel.
An Odyssey, mostly game music and remixes.
Yeah. Dun da da dun da da da. Surge and friends obtained the frozen flame. Phew, we managed to get what we came for without anything horrible happening to us. I breathed a sign of relief and turned toward Magil. He was staring silently at the jewel in his hands. Magil, we did it! Let's get out of... Before I could finish, the frozen flame crumbled to dust. This flame was a fake. Lynx must be keeping the real one somewhere safe. What? Suddenly, a siren rang out. The room was flooded with light, and metal bars slammed down in front of the door. I turned with a gasp to see Kid frozen, an ornate crown in her hands, and a wide-eyed look of awkward shock on her face. Dun da da da! Kid and friends obtained a golden crown too. You're kidding me, right? You just had to go and you complete bonehead. I let rip with a stream of choice insults. In my head, that is. Metallic parrots in the four corners of the room suddenly came to life, flapping their wings and screeching. What? Thieves! Thieves! We're in trouble. These things are going nowhere. Nigel inspecting the bars covering the door. Although to look at him, you wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong. Which way? Which way? The parrots to the vault, the vault. We heard voices in the distance. The manor guards were coming. Kid dived behind a pile of gold coins. Find somewhere to hide. In a panic, I looked around the room. There was a large chest sitting wide open in a pillar. I rushed to empty it out, then plunged in headfirst and closed the lid. Captain! Captain! There's no sign of anyone in there. No sign. How do you not get copyright striked for it if it's in the D&D session? Game music, yeah. Like Lynn just said, game music is usually safe since it plays constantly during Let's Play streams, so they don't set it up to open. Yeah. Most music that plays during video games are usually fine. Thankfully, Final Fantasy XIV's music is pretty much fair game. As long as it's not any of the themes that play during, like, the trailers. Like, don't use footfalls. Or if you do, use it, sparingly. And make sure that you're talking enough over it so that Content ID doesn't pick it up. But it most likely still will.
Quite.
So, there's a general, not really, rule of thumb to avoid any songs that have outright vocals. But to be fair, there are some songs in 14 that have vocals. But you can still use them. With Logan's playlist for
like
Nat 19.
Oblivion.
Yeah, Oblivion. You can use Oblivion. Like, some of Logan's playlists for DMS, a lot of those have vocals. It's just the volume they're played and excuse me, I have fizzy water. Excuse me. But using them because they play in the games with their vocals and are considered just game OST as well, they're usually safe and fair game. And most of the time, whenever Content ID does pick it up, on the Twitch side of things, at least for game music, on the Twitch side of things, you'll be fine. YouTube will probably pick it up and be like, hey, Content ID, and the most they'll do is they'll probably not let you monetize your VOD. What you don't want to happen is that Twitch picks it up and then it mutes portions of your VOD. It'll most likely do that with just like regular music, things you'll hear on like the radio, and things like that. Not so much game music.
Let's Plays are a method of advertisement, and they can't really set up a double standard that says it's fine with one set of video, i.e., the game it's actually playing in, or another.
Yeah. So, a good example, funny enough, Chrono Cross. So, on the VODs for my Chrono Cross streams, Content ID only picked up the theme song, which was what plays during the opening cutscene before you even get to the menu. It picked up that, and it picked up the ending song. Because those, while they're music from the game, are more like the themes, the theme songs, or whatever you would want to call them. They don't play during the game. I hope that makes sense. It picked up those. I didn't get in trouble for them.
Final Fantasy IX picks up the normal battle music, and that's about it.
Like, some songs will pick up more than others. In the Zelda and the Avatar VODs, it actually picked up some music from Bravely Default. And that was rather interesting, because it was like, isn't this from the game? So, again, some games, your mileage may vary, depends on how they want to be about their music. But most games will usually be safe. 14 is usually usually very, very lenient.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything unless you, like, are using one with lyrics.
Yeah, again, and even then, when it comes to 14, the lyric songs you want to avoid are the ones that play during the trailers.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like, they're big songs.
And the most you'll get is Content ID, which just means that they might not let you monetize. What you don't want to have...
In the playlist, they have, Footfalls without lyrics, and nothing happens with that one.
Exactly. With, excuse me. Like, for example, if I'm thinking other lyric songs, in 14, like, Lynn pointed out Oblivion, I think it's called Sunrise that plays during Suzaku's, freaking Lakshmi, like, those boss themes, they have vocals, but they won't be picked up because, again,
all the primal fights are fair game.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're playing the game. It's like it plays during the game. So they won't pick up. And really, if it does pick up, you just don't want Twitch to pick it up because then it'll mute those portions of your VOD. You'll only be free from it if you're recording your own VOD.
And I think you can use the Coils version of Answers, but not the trailer one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to look at my ARR VOD, but I think it picked up Answers. But I don't care. So, even then, Content ID doesn't mean that YouTube's slapping you in the wrist. It's just saying, hey, we picked this up. If you're monetizing it, we're either gonna take a portion of that, or we're just not gonna let you do it anymore. For that video. Normally it's fine, because it's all over YouTube anyway. So Content ID isn't the end of the world. What you don't want is it just to be like, hey, we're muting this portion of your VOD because this song. And that's, again, usually with the ones that have the record label attached. So, fun fact today. Hi, Jake.
Morning.
Afternoon.
Yeah, morning.
No.
Morning somewhere.
No.
Jake wants see dumb sketch. Lynn did.
Give sketch.
I'm eating cheese.
I'm struggling with consciousness.
Ah, fuck, I love cheese.
Cheese is pretty good.
You like?
Yes.
It's adorable. I love it.
Alrighty. Strange, peculiar. No one has ever escaped before. None have ever fled the mousetrap's clutches. None. I gently pushed up the lid of the chest and peeked through the gap. There were 5 goblins wearing suits of armor, unlocking the gate and about to make their way inside. One of the goblins looked around the room, jerking his neck as he peered into the shadows. Captain, what if it actually was a mouse this time? Chef was grumbling about mouses the other day, Captain. A mouse? A rodent? A rat? Would a teeny tiny thing like that really have sprung the trap? Replied a stocky, plump-looking goblin, who must have been the captain. He didn't seem convinced. That was when I heard the strange but oddly familiar sound from a corner of the room. Squeak, squeak! It was something from where Kid was hiding. Startled, the troop of goblins stopped and looked at each other. For a moment, none of them spoke. Eventually, the captain rubbed his chin through his jowls and offered his thoughts. Mouses? I'm sure Chef was complaining about cats. Meow! Meow! That voice again. Again, silence. The goblins only looked at each other. Funny you should say that, Captain. Way I heard it, it weren't mouses or cats. It was a hecarim. An awkward silence followed. In my mind's eyes, I could see Kid racking her brains to work out what a hecarim was. I smell a rat, by which I mean a thief. Following the captain's lead, the guards reached for their weapons, and then... Hack! Hack, hack, hack! Hack, hack, hack! Hack, hack, hack! Run, hack, run! Listen, it really is a hecarim! By heck, that proves it! The goblin guards grinned and nodded to each other. Cheeky little devil. Surprised me there. Let's get out of here, boys. The goblins filed out of the vault. I breathed a sigh of relief. And then they came charging back in again with a mighty roar. There's no such thing as hecarims! What? You sneaky little buggers! Roared Kid, leaping out from behind the pile of gold coins. You're one to talk, thief! Brandishing their weapons menacingly, the goblins moved forward slowly forward, forcing Kid into a corner. I quietly eased open the lid of a coffer and slipped out. Can't leave you anywhere, can I? I muttered to myself. I knew Kid could handle herself, but I didn't fancy her odds against a whole troop of heavily armed goblins. For a moment, I wasn't sure what to do, but then I made up my mind. I had to save Kid. There was no way I was going to abandon a friend in need. Even if it meant facing off against a group of 5 goblin guards, I'd find a way to come out on top. I hoped. I drew the knife from my belt and leapt into the middle of the room. Hey, snot for brainses! Over here. The goblins all turned to look at me at the same time. 10 beady, cruel little eyes all staring daggers at me. Fool, in a hurry to die, are we? I gulped and wondered if making a run for it might have been a better plan of action after all. Ah, humans are so stupid! The goblin captain chuckled and licked his teeth. Yep, this one's got a death wish, all right. Why else would he be so stupid as to come after Lord Lynx's treasure? Ha, that's the first, being called dumb by a bloody goblin. Try acting tough when you're crying to your mum later on. Judging by Kid's response, she wasn't feeling massively threatened. And you tell her it was Kid who kicked your teeth in. So you're Kid, are you? The sneaky little slippery little thief we've heard so much about? The goblin narrowed his eyes. Lord Lynx will be thanking me from now until my retirement when I bring him your head on a silver platter. The goblin captain pulled his morning star from his waist and started swinging. You don't know who you're messing with. We ain't no ordinary goblins, sweetheart. Word Lord Lynx is a neat elite guard. The goblins that gobble other goblins. That's right. The Gob Squad. Oh, quit shooting your mouth off and let me stick a boot in it. And with that,
okay.
Kid launched into a lightning fast spinning kick.
You're not dealing with your regular goblin warrior anymore.
Well, thanks for that game. Now I know where that reference in Warcraft comes from.
The Gob Squad?
Yeah.
Her boot connecting with the side of a goblin's head with a crack, sending the creature tumbling to the ground. Get him, lads! The boy's looking scrawny. Start with him. The goblin captain spun a heavy meatball. A heavy meatball? Metal ball! A heavy metal ball of his morning star in the air. Glorious gob strike. Aye, aye. The goblins charged across the room in response to their captain's command. Gob strike incoming. A goblin rushed towards me, swinging its weapon overhead. I dodge. I swiftly dodge. The morning star brushed past my cheek. I didn't know how, but I managed to escape unscathed. I lost my balance, though, and fell clumsily to the floor. Another of the goblins hesitated for just a moment, only to be run through by a spear of pure lightning conjured up by Magil. The goblin let out a blood-curdling howl as I cannot read today! Holy fuck! The goblin let out a blood-curdling howl as electricity coursed through its body. It clutched awkwardly at its chest where it had been struck, its face contorted with agony and horror. Magil's cape fluttered, and his piercing eyes stared coldly at his victim. None who defy me shall escape my wrath. Another goblin flew down from overhead. Bombs away! With a growl, it sent its morning star swinging from above. I roll away. I rolled across I rolled across the floor, dodging the attack. The morning star crashed onto the flagstone, sending sparks flying. That was a close shave. I made good my escape by rolling it further, clumsily putting some distance between myself and my attacker. Gob strike incoming. A goblin rushed towards me, swinging its weapon overhead. Ah, fuck. I wasn't going to make... I didn't reply in time. The morning star swept sideways through the air. I twisted my body to evade it, only for my torso to erupt in pain. Before I knew it, I was sent rolling across the floor in agony. Surge, get up! Spurred by Kid's scream, I staggered to my feet, clutching my side. I couldn't let it end like this. Another goblin flew down from overhead, bombs away. Jumped up for a counter. I was better off attacking than trying for a clumsy dodge. I tackled the goblin head-on, and bounced helplessly off its enormous rock-like body, smashing headfirst onto the floor. Ugh! The shock of the impact jolted through my body. Gob strike incoming. Parry. I just about managed to push my enemy's attack aside and tried to strike back with my knife, landing a heavy blow right into the goblin's unguarded flank. The goblin's face crumpled in agony. Magil conjured up a black wind, which surged forth like a shearing tempest. How does a human know a spell like that? Who are you? The goblin was quickly silenced as the rushing winds tore through it, and it collapsed to the floor with a final shriek. Magil looked down at his victim, his expression unchanged. Another goblin flew down from overhead. With a growl, it sent its morning star swinging from above. I jumped up for counterattack. It's gonna go ow. Ow. Ah, fuck. I was finished. A raised head drifted. Kid's screams grew more and more distant as my consciousness plummeted into a bottomless darkness. I just died. And that was how I died. I think I have to start all over.
Interesting. Oh dear.
Yeah, I have to start over. I don't think I... Oh, yeah, no, I didn't. You can save. I forgot. Alrighty, let's, Welp. I completely forgot that saving was a thing I could have done. Because I know you can die, but I was not aware that I was... That
It would be so easy to just fucking die.
Well, it's a thing of a couple frames ago he said it says I'm looking worse for wear, but I completely just completely forgot about saving. I don't think is there. Oh, sweet. Can I make this go faster? Oh wait, that's auto. What did I just press? What did I just press? Oh, this. What's this do? Alright, so first fight is with wildcats. I don't know what that button does. I think this is auto text, but I have no idea. Yeah, it is auto text. Okay. Doesn't make it go any faster. Alright, I'm trying to remember my steps so we can get back to where we were before. Let's do a quick save. Okay, we started right. I'm here for pink. Hi, Dora! We kind of died and we never saved. So, we've got quite a bit to go through again.
It's like the first time for me.
Yeah. We continue creeping cautiously down the corridors. Kid moved proudly and stealthily like a cat stalking its prey. While in the shadows, Maggio followed swiftly, guiding swiftly and sinister like into the embrace of the Weaver of Fate. Yeah. A short way along the corridor, running from the right-hand side of the terrace, we found an ancient-looking door to our right. This is the clock tower. So we'll go in there. Place is a dump. there's an old lady. Yeah, I get that. Play dump. I don't know. We were like, what if we are? We get a little bit of Kid's backstory because this old woman knows it somehow. I'm just gonna... Yeah? Seem to be injured. Let me take care of your wounds.
Nut.
Nut? I can take care of your wounds. I say I'll manage. I can manage for now. Who, me? Oh, I'm fine. It's just a scratch. See the Cronite go slowly deep in the shadows. Really? Well, as you wish. But know that you should seize every scrap of help that comes your way. If you truly mean to confront the Lord of the Manor, you need all the support you can muster. Especially you, Surge. When it comes down to it, you'll be the only one who can save Kid and the Shadow Dweller. With that, she vanished into the darkness. Okay, so she just goes either way. Oh, thanks for the 50 biddies to play the Chocobo sound. And Nut. Alright, thanks for the 100 biddies. Corridor. Manor. Wah. Don't spend all your biddies, Dota. Thank you. For the quack. The door led back to the corridor stretched all to the left and right. Rightward, depths of the manor. Our left, back to the Terrace. Let's keep going right. Sturdy looking door. That is... We can try to go inside, but there's a bunch of barriers. Okay, we continued on. Headed upwards. Dark stairwell, washed our footing carefully. Worn with age, sense of foreboding, like we were marching towards the gallows. Heavy looming door in silence. I had bits which barely used, so it's fine. Oh wait, that's the trap room. Didn't really care for people's suggestion. We put her mind on something. So I further went back down to the stairs to the floor below. Down the stairs and continue straight ahead. Sturdy looking door to our right. Turn back. Went inside. Stone towers, deserted, no windows. What's going on? Bloody empty room. Thick black stains, narrow scratches. Written in here. Hard to read. Door slammed shut. Oh no. Oh no. Up there. Spiky. The ceiling is coming down. we go. So I don't know how advanced it was for the time, but the visual novel, when you reach into like combat places, when it gives you your first choice, you have to choose quickly or you immediately get attacked. Like they're somewhat timed. Later on in the battle it usually isn't though, but I'm not sure.
Seen stuff like that in visual novel or like visual novel like things. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Continue on. This is the clock tower. Following the corridor. I think down the stairs leads to the atrium. Towards the atrium on the left. Leads to this. And they're like, oh, there's fishies in there. But they're piranodons. Oh no. And piranodons start...
fish.
Piranhas start being piranodons. And then the atrium starts to flood, which gives the piranodons the ability to swim more. Rush. Exit on the other side. I went back the way we came across. Okay. So we gotta do something before we get turned into mincemeat. Rush to the exit on the other side. Already up to my waist. Strange smell like warm meat rose from the water. Ugh. I yelped as my left thigh and my right ankle something wrapped up the plane. It was still a long way to go to the exit opposite side. I want to. I just gotta. That's right. These fish weren't going to stop me. Nope. It was still a long way. What was I gonna do? We're gonna probably die here, but I want to see what happens.
I want to see how I die.
Lost my footing. Face first. Reddish haze. Hungry piranhas. And then we die. Okay. And that was how I died. We're dead.
Sure are.
Now let's see. How do I get back to my... There we go. Alright. And then the fishies. I don't think you can get to the other side unless you try to deal with the fish. How many piranodons were in the pool? A lot. Rush back the way we came. We have escaped the evil murder fish. That was a close call. Mouth of Truth, we have nothing here. But she's gonna stick her hand in it anyway because kid is stupid. Supposed to put something in there. She has a lot of thing here. But the dried grapes is health. We're not going to worry about it. We're not going to waste our time. Towards the stairs. Along the path toward the stairs. Kid leading the way. Side passage. Went inside. Study. Okay, the desk was thing. Checked out the bookshelves. See, these are all pretty nasty spell books to me. Wouldn't be surprised a whole lot of them were cursed. I heard dark whispers and what sounded like a distant screech coming from inside the one I was holding. Slammed it shut, shoved it back into its place. Magil, however, was looking thoughtfully at another bookshelf. He reached out for a leather-bound tome. Could this be? What'd you find, Mag? Anything familiar? An ancient grimoire known as the Book of the Dead. Who would have thought I would encounter it here? He stared intently at the decaying old cover. I don't think you want to be reading that. Why not take a look inside?
Read it, read it, read it.
You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna save. Why not take a look? My curiosity got the better of me, despite Kid's earlier warning. Let's take a look inside. Could be interesting. He seemed to hesitate for a moment before nodding, silently and carefully turning to the first page. I could have sworn I heard a clunk followed by the sound of whirring cogs. The wheels of fate had been set in motion. I looked at the page Magil had opened the book to. It was bare. Hold up. Is the whole thing blank? Kid sounded almost disappointed. Magil turned to another page, then another. Each was as empty as the last. Psh, talk about a letdown. What do you say we fill it with a few choice words of our own, boys? Before we could stop her, Kid had grabbed a pen. Lynx is a bloody bastard, and we'll be doing the world a favor when we finally get him. That'll do. You sure? I could go on. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. It wasn't a loud knock, but in the bottomless silence of the night, it might as well have been a thunderclap. Kid and I stood bolt upright and turned toward it. Magil, meanwhile, hid in the shadows. Okay, he'd hide behind the door in the shadows. Get behind the door. We kept our bodies low, blah blah blah. Suddenly someone comes in. I thought I heard something. But the lord of the manor is away, of course. Why would there be anyone in here? I have to get over my nerves. Everything was fine until we heard the news that Pori was on the move. Footsteps. So Poirier has made its move. Magil emerged from the shadows, contemplating the news we'd overheard. If the rumors are true, we might well be about to find ourselves in a very difficult situation. Talks about Poirier a little bit. We leave the study. The wall began moving. A rectangular section opened up and swung around, revealing two enormous goblins clinging to the back. It was like something from one of those stories about assassins sneaking around in old castles. Goblins, screamed Kid. They definitely look like goblins to me, maybe a touch on the larger side. 4 in total, 2 in front of us and 2 appeared behind us, cutting off our path of escape. Crushing the guy can't read. Kid nimbly leapt up into the air and evading the attack and landing on the goblin's exposed hand. She swung upward toward the goblin's head, plunging her knife into its left eye. Then she flipped backwards and stood ready for the next attack. That was Kid's style. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. The next goblin charged in, swinging its morning star. I jumped back. I jumped back to keep my distance. For a moment I thought about copying Kid's trick, but I didn't have the confidence to pull it off. I was better off keeping an eye on my enemy and doing things my own way, though I did wish I could fight like her. The goblin pulled the iron ball out of the floor and came to me, swinging it overhead. I threw my knife, using the opportunity to steal the mace. I dodged the attack and kicked it in the face, using the opportunity to plunge my knife in its heart when it flinched. Deflected the striving strike up toward the ceiling and aimed a mighty blow at its face with my foot. My momentum unbroken, I turned full circle in the air and landed perfectly back on my feet, immediately moving in to thrust my dagger deep into its chest. Kashunk. The blade sank in up to the hilt. What the hell? I leaped backward to put some space. Sensing danger, I jumped back. The goblin's hand grabbed uselessly at the air where I had been standing. Had I been a moment later, it would have caught me. I was dealing with a monstrously persistent foe. But I had spent the last of its strength. The goblin lost its balance and collapsed to the floor where it succumbed to its wounds. I realized that everything was quiet and the fighting had ended. This must have been the last goblin. Wait a second, what's that? It was a leather bag on the ground, containing a sparkling gem. Now we're talking. Kid's face lit up with joy. Nice find, Serge. What a beaut. Kid snatched it away, leaving me to settle for the compliment. Phew. I'd taken a few knocks, but that was alright. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Maybe you ain't such a drongo after all. Just goes to show, any old weirdo can make something of themselves if they put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. We made our way back down the dark side passage leading from the study. Eventually, we arrived back at the intersection. Some stairs led downward, and the corridor branched left and right, with the right branch leading back toward the terrace. Bap, 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 bap. Left branch? Where's Riddle's room? We continued onward, past where the stairs and the side passage emerged into the main corridor. Ornate double doors. Okay, this might be Riddle's room. Inside. Doesn't look like anyone's in here. It seemed to be the main hall of the manor. Oh, fuck. There was a massive table, beautiful decorations on the walls, and thick columns decorated with sculptures of birds and beasts. Fixed to the wall in the back towered a tremendous pipe organ, like a burnished black mountain. Dozens of candles provided a dim, flickering light, sending the corners of the room dancing in and out of shadow. Several enormous portraits glowered down from high on the walls. Were these members of Lynx's family? I was busy staring at a painting depicting a young husband and wife when I realized that their eyes had turned to look right at me. Okay, they hadn't. Don't worry. This isn't about to turn into some dumb ghost story. I just looked that way because of the way the flickering light of the candles reflected against the glossy oil paints. Obviously. Probably. This place gives me the creeps, and get a load of all those ugly mugs. There's nothing for us here. Let's look somewhere else. Neither Magil nor I had any objections. We left the hall and returned to the corridor. I'm a lady! Okay, hold on. Aim the most poised! We left the hall and returned to the corridor. Eventually, it led us to an intersection.
That is, technically, true.
There are some stairs going down, and to the right, a dark side passage. If we kept going straight on, we'd arrive back at the terrace. Okay, toward the study, toward the terrace, down the stairs. Slowly we crept down the staircase, ascending deeper in the blackness as we went. Path, trail off in the darkness. Passageway to the right, atrium on the left. We don't want the atrium. Ornate door. Okay, this is Riddle's door. Fresh and pleasant flowers. Was it from the inside? Found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. Stately desk and cozy. No. Lynx's girl's room. A warm teacup. Some charming flowers, a discarded cotton handkerchief, a small bottle of perfume. Nothing that meant much to me, nor anything that seemed particularly valuable. Kid seemed to have some impression and scanned the room, clearly not expecting to find anything. The only other note was a small antique box, which bore a crest resembling a viper. I decided where to look next. Examined the bed, chest of drawers. I like the little touches, like where it has like your little party members kind of going around the mirror. Picked up the little box, chest of drawers, examined the bed. I slid open one of the finely veneered drawers. Frills, lace, and sequins greeted me with reds, pinks, yellows, and a host of other vivid colors. A bounty of beautiful silk garments overflowed from within. Dresses, eh? Give us a look. I'd been just about to close the drawer again when Kid came up and started peering over my shoulder. She reached out a hand to touch one of them, though I sensed a certain hesitation. I never worn anything this posh in me life. The gown she picked out was cut simply but beautifully and was decorated with a pale floral pattern on a white background. She held it up to her chest and took a gentle twirl around the room. She was as light on her feet as a woodland nymph. The fabric fluttered like flower petals, and she held the hem just so. In that brief moment, you could have almost called her dainty. Ha! Stupid thing. Not exactly me, eh? I wouldn't say that. I think it really suits you. Oh, shut your gob, arse-kisser. Her face turned an angry red. Come on. We ain't got all night. The spell well and truly broken, she stomped out of the room. Took the passage to the right. We went down the dark passageway, eventually finding ourselves at a sturdy-looking, immaculately polished door. Something stinks in here. We found the beast's lair. Turn back. Can I go back into Riddle's room and look at the other things? It didn't let me last time. Alright. Yeah. Pass it to the right. Spirit in the mirror. Ask it where the key to the vault is. Do you know where the key to the vault is? Book with a purple cover, furthest bookshelf from the door. And then it leaves. Riddle's room, Lynx's daughter. Probably make us leave again anyway. Suddenly, Kid stopped in her tracks. Wall began moving. More goblin. Dead goblin. Okay. Towards the atrium with the fountain. Stairs lead. Left passage toward the stairs leading upward. Another intersection. Main hall towards the study. As we made our way through the silence of the corridor, something cold landed on me from above. I put my hand up to my hair and felt a quease-inducing sliminess. Ugh, slugs. I lifted my head towards where I'd come from, and a mass of disgusting creatures hit me full on the face. Blah! As fast as I could brush them off, more of them landed on and around me. It was literally raining slugs. Before I knew it, they began to pile up wetly around my feet. They crawled all over me, and I flailed and flapped as I tried to shake them loose. Quickly, back the way we came. But as we turned, we saw the entire corridor was a writhing mass of the creatures. It's like the floor's made of them. A shiver of revulsion ran down my spine. I ain't tramping over that little carpet of gross. Kid shook her head violently, clearly far from amused. But the more we stood there wondering what to do, the more they kept piling up. This did not happen on my way back to the study. We were just going to have to charge through them. We were just going to have to pick our way through them. Pick our way? I can't do it, not slugs. I had no option but to crouch down and offer to carry her. Alright, hop on. She happily jumped onto my back. Phew, she was heavier than I thought. With every step I staggered forward, Kid wrapped her arms more tightly around my neck. If I had time to think about it, I might have swooned a little. Ugh, one fell down my neck, screamed Kid. I struggled to keep from dropping her as she wriggled and writhed. Surge, get it out, get it out, get it out, she cried, squeezing me tighter and tighter. Get down first, I gasped. She had no choice but to swallow her revulsion and climb down. Ugh! She gave another huge scream. I looked behind me to see that she jumped down right into the top of a slug as thick as my arm. Her boots were covered in gooey wads of burst slime guts, and a sickly green stain was quickly spread over them. I can't bloody deal with this. She leapt right back up and started squeezing my neck even more tightly than before. I could barely breathe. Knock it off, Kid. You're choking me. I managed to pry her free, but not without some serious effort. At that moment, Magiel unexpectedly from the shadows and pointed to a bend in the corridor. There. A gout of flame erupted from his fingertip. The flames chased something screaming from the shadows, and it came barreling straight towards us. I threw myself to one side. I struck it. The monster's scythe whooshed through the air towards me. I kept my body low and dodged to avoid the attack. I was alright, it only grazed my clothes, but I still had to be on my guard. A demon, a bloody demon, spat Kid. So all that creepy stuff was an illusion? The slugs disappeared like smoke, but the demon was still there. It readied its scythe again and began inching toward us. What was it going to do? Went for it with my knife. I made a dash to one side, lifting my dagger as well. It tore through the creature's paper-thin skin, but it was only a flesh wound. Bloody things laughing at us. And it was too, chuckling maniacally in a way that made me deeply uneasy. I raised my knife again and prepared myself for the worst. My eyes met the demons, and it was then that I saw it. It was a twinkle behind them. I couldn't tear my gaze away. Its chuckle grew into a belly laugh as it peered into the very depths of my soul. And then just like that, it had muttered a few words and melted into the shadows. Where seconds before it had towered over us, now not a trace of it remained. What was that all about? Why would it just disappear mid-fight? Guess I had someplace else to be. Kid gave a shrug, doing her best to at least feign indifference. But I couldn't shake the essence of unease that had filled me, and peered uneasily at the darkness into which the vile creature had disappeared. Phew. I'd taken a few knocks, but I was alright. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Not bad, Surge. Not bad at all. Didn't know you had it in you. There was a mischievous glint in Kid's eye as she rewarded me with a few rare words of praise. Side passage, immaculately polished door. This was the study. Yes. Let's find this key. Where'd the mirror say it was? She's asking me. How was I supposed to remember? Purple cover in the far bookcase. And there's key. Hello, hon. Took the left branch to the main hall. Is there anything again in the main hall? I want to recheck the rooms because I know like if you go to the rooms at certain points, looks like the coast is clear. Okay, nothing here. Down the stairs. Okay, yeah, there's nothing here. Shut up, phone. No point going back. We've been doing good so far. We're just kind of redoing some parts because we died in the middle of this. Ah, fuck. I'm gonna go to the terrace. Okay, keep following the corridor. That was the clock tower. We continued on. One inside. Alrighty. Ah, fuck. Oh yeah, quickly touch nothing but the gem. That is true. So is your blooded fault for time to hurry up? What the? So did you. Yeah, it's all my fault. My fault everything's out to get us tonight. It's my fault I damn near got mangled to death by wildcats on the way here. Too bloody right it is. Glad you're finally taking some responsibility. Ugh, she's a damn witch, this girl. Would it kill her to be nice to me for a change? Oi, don't give me that look. I know exactly what you're thinking. She pointed an accusing finger at me. Sorry if I ain't the sweet little princess you want me to be, Surge. Enough. Lynx's men will be here at any moment, hiss Magil.
I went to get food, and see we have a hong.
Yes. So if we take time, Kid activates the alarm by grabbing a crown. Which way, which way? Parrots, the parrots to the vault. What's my phone going on about? I'll have this on auto text for a bit. I think I'm gonna save here. And I think I'm gonna call stream. So, as much as I would like to keep going, I kind of got a message.
Oh my.
And it's not anything like bad. Well, it's bad, but like it's not bad, but it is.
Got you.
So I'm gonna call stream.
Do what you gotta do, girl.
We will finish this off on Saturday. I think that'll give us enough time to finish it off. We've gotten back to where we stopped. So I will see you guys all later in about an hour. In about an hour and some. We'll see you guys. at Zelda. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Can I raid somebody while we're who's doing stuff right now so I can give them a raid? I know Matemi was streaming earlier. Is Matemi still streaming?
No, I don't see them up right now.
No, they're not streaming anymore. We'll just call it then. I will see you guys later. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.